Asserting influence over central squares, this English opening immediately offers flexible pawn structures and control of key diagonals. Developing the knight to its most active square prepares for pawn advances and challenges central control. Establishing central control now, aiming to dictate the game's rhythm and potential pawn breaks. Embracing a fianchetto, black prepares for a long-term struggle on the dark squares, accepting an early queenside passivity. Developing a knight here bolsters central control and prepares castling, all while keeping options open for a king's Indian defense setup. Challenging white's central space with aggression, this push immediately opens critical lines. Developing this knight solidifies the central pawn structure and prepares for kingside castling. Developing the bishop to g7 fianchetto establishes an imposing diagonal influence, preparing for potential pawn breaks and eye on white's queenside. Instantly challenging black's pawn structure, this queen sortie creates both tactical opportunities and positional pressure on the queenside. Reinforcing the d5 pawn solidifies black's central presence, preventing immediate queenside pressure from the white queen and preparing for pawn advances. Opening the c-file with this capture forces a decision on black's pawn structure. Reclaiming the pawn with the knight establishes a central presence, but surrender of the c-file control offers white attacking chances. Developing the bishop to support the d4 pawn and prepare kingside castling builds a solid foundation. Castling secures the king, initiating a period of quiet development and preparing for potential piece maneuvering into the center or queenside. Seizing central space aggressively, this pawn thrust directly challenges black's queenside structure and opens diagonals for white's pieces, forcing a decisive positional commitment. Shifting the knight to b6 elegantly secures the d5 pawn and prepares a kingside pawn storm, creating future queenside space for black. Reclaiming the d-file now enables pressure against black's queenside and prepares for potential central advances. Shifting the knight offers improved defensive posture on the queenside, potentially eyeing squares like c5. Launching a queenside offensive, white aims to disrupt black's pawn structure and gain space. A defensive pawn push creating static weaknesses along the queenside for potential future piece pressure. Developing the bishop to a more active diagonal, aiming to pressure black's queenside structure. Securing the queen centrally aims to support the pawn structure and prepare for potential queenside counterplay. Consolidating the bishop to a more passive post, this maneuver aims to free the d-file and prepare for potential queenside expansion. Unifying the queen's defense with the knights, this piece eyes the e4 pawn, preparing a possible queenside expansion. Shifting the knight to the edge suggests a long-term maneuvering plan, possibly aiming for the c4 square or to support a kingside attack later. Solidifying the pawn chain and preparing for a potential kingside maneuver, this pawn advance subtly restricts white's development options. Castling into safety, white finally secures their monarch amidst the central skirmish, preparing for future offensive maneuvers. Protecting the king's diagonal with this pawn move prevents potential bishop incursions and establishes a solid defensive shield. Asserting control over the open queen's file, preparing to apply pressure down that central corridor. Unleashing the kingside pawn storm, black seeks to disrupt white's central control and open attacking lines. The knight's journey to c3 sacrifices central influence for better kingside development and potential central pawn breaks. Safeguarding the king from immediate threats and preparing for potential counterplay on the kingside. Pivoting the rook to the d-file reinforces central influence and prepares for potential pawn pushes, subtly tightening white's grip. Unleashing the pawn opens lines, but black must ensure their king's safety amidst the rising central storm. Reclaiming the center with the knight initiates a dynamic pawn thrust and opens attacking avenues. The queen's daring excursion to b4 aims to disrupt white's queenside pressure, but it exposes black's monarch to potential discovered attacks. Initiating a strategic retreat of the queen, White prepares to contest the open d-file and regain central influence. Snatching the pawn opens the queen to a deadly discovery, undermining your king's safety. A daring pawn push, seizing central territory and forcing black's queen to reassess its precarious outpost. Unleashing the queen into an exposed position risks a devastating positional sacrifice if white can effectively trap it. Unleashing a knight towards the kingside, aiming to exploit the pawn structure's weaknesses and potentially create attacking chances. Liberating the queen from the queenside, this retreat prepares a potential knight maneuver and solidifies central control. A daring gambit offering a piece to shatter the black king's shell. King's safety abandoned for tactical disruption, an audacious gamble on initiative. Exploiting the king's exposed position, this sacrifice opens lines with devastating tactical geometry.